Camilla says it was a special treat to arrive in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car at creative writing event, and describes the famous film as one of her favorites. The Duchess of Cornwall said it was a special treat to travel in the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car as she attended a creative writing contest event today. Camilla, 70, arrived in style to host the 500 Words Creative Writing Competition final at a Hampton Court Palace, along with BBC Radio 2 host Chris Evans. During her speech at the event, she said, "It is a huge pleasure to be with you all today, and to have traveled here in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the magical car from one of my favorite stories was a very special treat." She added, "Those of you who have seen the film might remember the slightly bonkers character of Grandpa Potts. Well, Grandpa Potts has some very good advice that I want to share with you this morning. His advice is, never say no to adventures. Always say yes. Otherwise you'll lead a very dull life." The Duchess also admitted she shed a tear in her car as she listened to an extraordinary story about bereavement written by a boy of 9. Finn McCann, from Co-Down, moved the royal, and the nation, with his story about a robin bringing messages to loved ones from those that have passed into the great unknown. His short story was read out live on Chris Evans' Radio 2 breakfast show this morning as Camilla was driving down to Hampton Court Palace, where the finals of the broadcaster's 500 Words Creative Writing Competition for children were being held. The Duchess arrived with the star in his own handmade replica of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, one of only 2 in the world, and was so taken with it she joked, "Can I borrow this for royal ascot?" She told Evans that she had been listening to his show in her car on the way down to Surrey when she heard the broadcaster warn that Finn's story, which was read out by Paddington and Harry Potter star Jim Broadbent, might be emotional, adding, "I'm afraid to say you were right about a little tear and the mascara." "I was crying. It was really moving. They were all fantastic." 500 Words is open to children aged 5 to 13 and invites them to put pen to paper and compose an original work of fiction. The competition is designed to promote literacy among children, a cornerstone of Camilla's work. She is now an honorary judge on the competition. The Duchess of Cornwall looked in high spirits at the event, opting for a chic white dress and silver statement necklace. In a speech she urged aspiring young writers to say a big fat yes to adventures and told her audience that stories light up our imagination, touch our hearts and get our brains whirring. Evans then drove the Duchess, along with children's author David Walliams, who also read out one of the winning entries, and some of the winners, to a reception in the palace gardens in his chitty car, honking at astonished passers-by. Actor Mr. Broadbent said of the quality of entries, "Well, they wonderful, weren't they? The one I read was beautiful. I was worrying I would get through it. Every time I read it I was choking up a little bit. And such a clever story to come from one so young. I was very impressed. They were all terrific." Finn said his story was inspired by both his grandmother and a robin he saw hopping on his way to school. "I don't really remember my granny. She died when I was very young,